The man stared terrified at the churning sea. Massive tentacles broke through the churning sea waves. No one could fathom a creature of this size. With terrifying ease, it pulled the entire rig beneath the waves. Even the mighty nuclear submarines of the sea were like toys before this monster. Coming in 2025, the chilling creature feature Kraken will plunge audiences into an abyss of terror. An international research team surveys the boundless Arctic ice fields during their expedition. They drop sonar buoys into the freezing waters. Unbeknownst to them, a Russian submarine was passing right beneath. Juliet felt something odd during data collection. The tents on the ice appeared to be shaking. Suddenly, water erupted from the ice hole. The distant ice suddenly began to shatter. Oscar suddenly realized they were encountering the legendary ice kraken, urgently shouted at Juliet to evacuate immediately. They raced away on their snowmobiles. The ice was cracking far more rapidly than they had anticipated. Oscar saw the campsite rapidly rising in the distance. He let out a desperate cry. The snowmobile hit the ice shards as the two regained their senses. Their camp was swallowed by the sea along with the breaking ice. The submarine beneath them suffered the same tragic fate. First came the barrage of ice shards, then every alarm on board blared to life. Something massive had the sub in its grip, dragging it down at terrifying speed. The captain sent a distress signal before sinking, a desperate call for help to their fleet. Meanwhile, Juliet and Oscar clung to survival. They were ready to give up hope. They endured a full day in the blizzard. To make matters worse, they had no food. Even their satellite phone had no signal. They reached the coastal ice cliff. They finally contacted drilling platform, but the raging blizzard prevented any rescue attempt. Hope was almost gone when suddenly, Juliet saw a red light flashing on the distant ice. They ran to check with hopeful hearts. The flashing light was a Russian beacon. Oscar wondered if there was a Russian base nearby. The ice beneath them suddenly shook. Juliet thought the ice was cracking again. Terrified, she whirled around. A huge sub surfaced through the ice. They stood frozen in shock on the spot. Could this be their long-awaited rescue mission? The truth proved them wrong. The wrecked submarine had sent it as per SOS signal earlier, was spotted by military radar. Command immediately ordered a rescue mission. They would retrieve the wreckage even if the submarine was destroyed. The military assigned their finest Captain Victor to ensure the mission's success. The admiral lived up to expectations. They worked tirelessly and soon located the beacon transmitter. They searched for miles but only found two exhausted researchers, with no sign of the missing submarine anywhere in the vicinity. Victor hesitated, then decided to take the two researchers back to the sub. They would perish from the freezing cold in just a couple of days otherwise. Victor had yet another hidden motive in his mind. He wanted to locate the wrecked submarine, but Juliet knew very little about it. If Victor hadn't pointed it out, she didn't know about that strange signal they found. It was from the Russian sub, but Juliet figured out from the timing the sub must have crashed because of that ice crash. She first thought it was a seabed earthquake. Now she knows that couldn't be. The monitoring equipment showed no signs of unusual geological activity. Juliet thought it over. She concluded only a massive sea creature could create such disturbances. Victor suddenly recalled something at these words. A recent strange encounter. As they approached the Arctic Circle, the recon officer detected an unusual signal. The seasoned veterans spotted it fast. They were encountering a pod of whale. But it was puzzling. These giants were usually gentle creatures, but this time they kept gently bumping into the submarine, almost as if trying to block their way. Victor acted without hesitation. He ordered low-minus frequency signals to repel the whales. The recon officer reported back quickly. The captain's tactic was successful, but then he detected strange signals below. Victor stared at the screen. He couldn't make sense of what it was. The crew remained unaware as a whale silently swam beneath their vessel. Giant tentacles attacked it suddenly. It instantly went limp and sank like a stone. Victor noticed something was wrong. The huge blip on sonar was heading straight for them. With too little data to go on, he could not afford to fire without caution. His only option was to slip the sub into an ice crevice. The enormous creature was too large to pursue them inside. Victor's quick thinking saved them all. They concealed the submarine in the deepest part of the ice. They finally shook off the giant creature. After listening to Juliet's full account, Victor deduced the creature was breaking the ice. The one that wrecked the submarine. Juliet, being a Swedish woman, she had worshipped sea beasts since childhood. She wanted no part in this. She remembered the drilling platform she'd contacted. She asked Victor to take her team there. Victor carefully examined the old man. The drilling platform was not too far away. He was glad to be rid of these liabilities. But during the journey ahead, the recon officer detected that strange signal again. Victor sensed a growing unease within him. He couldn't see it coming. The creature burrowing beneath that. As he neared the drilling platform, Victor was preparing to call the platform's manager. Victor was about to call when huge waves erupted from the sea. Giant tentacles burst through the surface. The steel deck was violently torn apart within mere seconds. Victor observed from his nearby sub, Through the periscope, he saw the monster in its entirety. A giant octopus was attacking the platform. The crew stood paralyzed by the horrifying sight before them. Only when the platform vanished beneath the waves, they reacted at last. They needed to evacuate now. The team reacted a bit too late. A warning was reported. The octopus monster was rapidly approaching them. Victor acted swiftly and ordered the launch of 2 torpedoes. The giant octopus was incredibly huge. They could not miss it. 2 massive explosions later, the monster was still going strong. Victor ordered another torpedo salvo. Now everyone finally realized the truth. Conventional weapons were powerless against the monster. They had no time to process this shock. The monster's massive tentacles came crashing toward them. Their fragile sub was tossed about like a twig in water. The sub rolled wildly from tentacle hits. The crew was too terrified to put up any resistance. Only Victor remained eerily composed. He remembered what happened in the ice crevice. The octopus monster disappeared entirely after they turned off the engines. Shut down the radar and engines now, he ordered. The crew acted without hesitation. The crew kept utterly silent without making a sound. Victor's gamble had paid off again. The giant octopus tracked its prey using sound wave. It paid no attention to the silent submarine. The submarine silently drifted out of danger with the ocean currents. The entire crew sighed in relief. They immediately started repairing the hull damage. The burning torpedo bay posed the greatest threat. The crew fought hard and finally got the fire under control, but several more crew members were wounded. Not wanting to just stand by, Juliet joined the medical team. Many crew members were ready to call it quits. They couldn't beat the octopus monster. Let's abort and return to base now. But Victor remembered his orders from command. If the submarine wreckage were to fall into enemy hands, the outcome would be disastrous. He overruled the descent and ordered a 3-day search on the beacon. Whatever they find by then, they'd head straight back to base. Over the following 2 days, Victor's submarine scoured every corner of the seabed. They discovered no clues, and luckily avoided the giant octopus. Then they unexpectedly discovered a deep abyss that day. The sub was pushing its depth limits. To explore further, they would need a specially designed submersible. Victor realized this abyss was the only unexplored area nearby. The wrecked submarine was most likely down there. Victor promptly gathered a team of divers. Victor led the team as the submersible descended into the abyss. They were nearing the 2,000-meter depth. The crew stared in utter astonishment. At least they could now make out the seabed. The powerful searchlight revealed they found countless shipwrecks. The place felt like a vast underwater graveyard. The crew stared in disbelief. The crew carefully checked every single detail. Then they found it among the ruins. They found the submarine wreckage. The hull was already shattered beyond recognition. Miraculously, the living quarters were still intact. Victor held on to a faint hope. Victor docked the submersible to the hatch. He was determined to go down this time. He was determined to bring his men back. Dead or alive. He had just opened the hatch when suddenly dozens of hopeful eyes stared back at him. The crew learned that their missing comrades were alive. The crew erupted in joyous shouts of celebration. Only then did Victor hear from the captain the submarine wreck's full story. That day the giant octopus monster attacked them. The monster easily pulled them into the abyss. This must be where the giant octopus made its lair. The countless shipwrecks served as undeniable proof. Victor held great admiration for the captain before him. He saved all his crew in that critical moment. It was nothing short of miraculous. Victor's submersible had limited capacity. The crew must be transported into batches. He ensured the wounded teammates left first. Victor and the captain stayed. One vital task still remained. The sub suffered heavy damage, but many instruments were still usable. Victor initiated the self-destruct sequence to prevent further recovery. The first crew group had already boarded the vessel to assist the rescue team in returning later. The operator left a tracking beacon behind. No one could have anticipated this. Despite being just a brief test activation, the nearby giant octopus monster still detected the signal. The submersible safely reached the submarine above the abyss. The waiting crew swiftly began reading the survivors who had just been rescued. The first transport was completed. The submersible set out again for the abyss. But shortly after its departure, the radar picked up the giant octopus monster. The crew panicked instantly. Luckily, they learned from last time. They cut radar and engines. But this time, luck wasn't on their side. With the submarine powerless, it started sinking slowly into the abyss. The crushing pressure strained the hull. But if we start the engines now to ascend upwards, would trigger the monster's full assault. The crew was caught in a dilemma when Victor abruptly commanded his crew to turn on the preposition locator. The octopus caught the signal. It abandoned its prey, heading straight for the wrecked sub below. The crew all sighed in relief. They urgently began surfacing the sub. A fresh concern suddenly crossed their minds. What about their crew below? Luckily, Victor had already set the self-destruct. He instructed the crew to seek refuge in the submersible. The octopus struck fiercely. The massive octopus swiftly coiled around the damaged sub. The crew inside was tossed into chaos. Victor clenched his jaw tightly. He forced the submersible away from the submarine. He also urged the captain to initiate the self-destruct sequence. A powerful energy beam blasted out. The octopus burst apart instantly. Despite its immense power, the octopus fell to this cosmic blast. In the end, Victor and the survivor surfaced safely. They finally reunited with his anxiously waiting crew. That concludes the Deep Freeze Voyage story. See you next time.